Hi, I'm Erin from The Witch of Saturn, and I'm here today with my very good friend and the creator of the Felt Tarot, Jamie Sawyer.
Hi.
Yay. So we are here today. I'm going to do a little interview with Jamie. She was so kind to indulge me in this because I've been kind of like bugging you for a while to start doing some videos like this with me where we go through. I'm like, let's do a video where we go through my Jamie Sawyer deck collection with Jamie Sawyer.
It's like Inception. It's Jamie Sawyer
Yeah.
Inception.
Yes. And so I wanted to start with the Felt Tarot specifically because I really think that this deck deserves um, a little more in-depth understanding for people of like what this actually is and how cool it is. The cards are hands of those felt panels that you see on Jamie's screen over to the right. How big are they, Jamie? The original panels that you made?
7 by 9.
Yeah, so
So
they're
yeah,
pretty big.
like 6.5 by 11. But so they're big, but they're still also very small, if that makes sense. Like with this process of being able to make these things, they would be easier if they were bigger.
Okay.
But I needed to be able to scan them in. And
Oh, gotcha.
so they had to be under 9 by 12 because my flatbed scanner that I have it only has like 8.5 by 11. It's like a document scanner, but it's a really high grade. It's like an Epson really good scanner. So I get like all the rich colors and I get like you can see like
Hmm.
how it's scanned in and it looks
Yes,
just like the
so
panel.
close to the
Yeah.
panel. Yeah, the
Whereas like
scan really looks like felt.
right. And so the only reason I was able to do that is because I have this scanner, but I was like, I could have made them bigger and tried to piece them together on like other programs, but I was like, I do not have that kind of patience or time. And then, of course, I was looking into larger format scanners and they were like $4,000. And I was like, yeah, hard pass. I already have this one that I've had for that works perfectly.
Yeah, so you're
So
like, I'll just make the panel to fit that, even though
I'll
it's a
make
little
the panel to fit
harder.
that. Yeah, which is actually really kind of awesome because normally I don't have that kind of foresight. Normally I'm like, I'm five down and crap, now they don't fit.
I was just gonna say, see, these are like the behind the scenes things that I'm so interested in because these are things that as a as someone who's not a deck creator, who's strictly a tarot reader and you know, passionate fan of tarot decks, like you don't consider all of these things. There's just this, and something I really am grateful for and appreciative of in our friendship is that I feel like I've just kind of secondhand got this like creator's viewpoint from you. That
Well,
it's,
you were definitely there through some of my most well, I'm just gonna trash everything. I'm gonna say fuck it and not do it.
yeah, like this deck in particular, I feel like we were so close throughout
Yeah.
the entire creation of this deck because some of your other decks, like we've been friends for what 19 years now, but
Yeah.
when you first started making decks, like you were making tarot decks and I was making babies. The
And so
creation of this deck, it was like every day you were like, this is what I'm working on, this is what I'm working on. And it was
yeah,
just like,
yeah.
cool to watch.
So this is a revisit that I did of Barney, obviously, because since Barney passed, I wanted to be able to do one that was hanging in our living room at all times that says the Barney. But this is to show you like the difference in size.
Yeah.
This one was so much easier to make than this one
Hmm.
because it's a bigger surface. I can cut the bigger pieces. So it was just a lot easier.
Is that strictly because of like the size of each individual felt piece?
Yeah, because like these like the little pieces on the eyes, like the little highlights, those are all individually cut. And so like to be able to do, like this, like each color is a new piece. And so
Hmm.
like even in here, like you can see it mostly in the grass here, like there's this piece, there's four different pieces here,
Yeah.
like this brown that's in here. Whereas on here, it was like I'm over here cutting and hoping I don't sneeze to, blow away the piece that I'm working.
Yeah.
But
And
I was,
what do you cut
mhm.
that with? Are you cutting it with scissors or like an X-Acto?
Oh
What's
no, yeah, I have scissors that are they're like serrated. These are my felt taro scissors.
Ooh.
Ta-da-da. Like Tim Holtz scissors. I love these things. But they're really sharp, but they have a serrated edge, so they just cut the felt so lovely. And because the points are so small, I can really get in there with those pieces.
It's fascinating. Now let's completely backtrack
Yep.
to the beginning. So when when did you start playing around with felt? And it was not with the intention of making tarot decks, correct?
Oh, it never is. Never is with me. I mean, it all
So,
roads lead back to tarot. So I had been wanting to make like a tattoo banner for my convention booth or whatever, and I had wanted to make these banners. And so in order to do that, I had to like play around with like how to make them, how to cut the letters out, do this and that. And we have a laser, obviously, because we make all the tiles, we do all that stuff. And so I was having Tim cut canvas, like canvas material on the laser, and it worked. But what happens when you're cutting something with a laser, there's generally a burnt edge, and I didn't want the burnt edge. So I started looking into other options. So I was like, oh, maybe I'll get myself a Cricut. So I bought this machine specifically to cut felt or to cut material because there's like certain different levels of this machine. And the one that I got, which is the maker, comes with like a rotary wheel that cuts fabric. Well, it took forever. It took so long to do it. And I was like, I bet I can do this faster. But it started out because I wanted to make like these, and it's just felt, and it's just, but that's what started it out. I was like, I want to make these convention banners. I want them to cut the letters for me, and then I'll either sew them together or I'll use the heat and bond. So it's all roads, they just kind of morph. I
mhm.
feel like the creative process tends to just morph and be like, no, do it this way, do it this way. And so then I had like started doing like these smaller renditions once I realized the process of what I could do. And then this was when I was working with my friend Rich, and he had me design a cover for one of his singles. He's a musician and a tattoo artist, and he had me design a cover for it that looked kind of like a tattoo or a tarot card. And so I was like, oh, I'm going to try and make that out of this process that I've been doing on such a smaller scale. And when I did his, I was like, oh, I can do that. I'm going to try and make a rendition of an Ace of Pentacles.
Wait, why Ace of Pentacles?
I'm going to start with the aces. And the Ace of Pentacles is like easy. It's a big circle, it's a pentacle. Um, if it's only the one I only make, then at least it'll be, bringing in good energy and business success. And, like for me, I was like, okay, the pentacle is witchy, whatever. I should know better than just assume I'm going to only make one. So then I did all four aces, and that was when it began.
I didn't realize that you started with the Aces. For some reason, I thought you started with Barney.
No, I didn't do Barney until after he got sick. So working on these. I had been working on these probably, found out he was sick in July. I had been working on these, I guess, since like April or May. And then when Barney got sick, I was like, oh, he's going to be the fool. And I remembered this photo that our friend Steph had taken of Barney when he was a baby running around with a giant stick in his mouth. And I was like, oh, he's the fool's dog. And that was it. But I had already created quite a few panels before I got to Barney. He just became my promo.
And now, so when you made Barney as the fool, was this before you had made like a conscious decision to not make this like people-y?
Yeah, I had already like I realized I had wanted to make I didn't feel like doing people, which is why like all the royals have the silhouettes. I had already I think I had done the Knight of Swords. I think that was the first one I did. So I started with the aces, right? And then what I was doing was I had my Rider Waite Redux deck, and I was just pulling a card of the day, and that was going to be the card I would draw. And so the first royal that I pulled was the Knight of Swords. And so I was like, okay, well, how would I draw this in this felt tarot style? And so, because I had to approach it more in a simplified manner, knowing that there's limitations to working with this felt, working with this system, and because of that, I was able to flesh out with that. I was like, okay, so the knight has a helmet. I'm going to use a chess piece for the horse, you know, anything like animals will always have a space in my decks, but people not so much. They can
Love
become
that.
problematic.
So problematic.
So problematic. And I wanted to be able to, I think I only have one of the royals with me. It was the Queen of Swords, but I wanted to be able to still have, like, here's a Knight of Cups. I wanted to be able to still have like the feel that they're people, because I know when we read with them, even in the Tarot de Marseille deck, um, the pips are, just numbered, but then the royals still all have a presence. So I was like, well,
Mhm.
we need the presence because there are people, because being a person in a journey of life, we have to deal with other people. But I didn't want to give them,
Unfortunately.
yeah, I know, I didn't want to give them front and center access.
Well, I have a backtrack
Uh-huh.
question again, just to make sense of this in my brain. So it went from like it went from creating the tattoo panels for yourself, the artwork for
Hmm.
Rich, to like,
Hmm.
I wonder what a tarot card in this would look like for myself. Let me make the Ace
Hmm.
of Pentacles.
Hmm.
And then it was like, oh, this is cool. Let me make another ace.
Yeah,
And
like
then
I
it was
always,
like, oh, now I'm making it. Oh, here, I guess we're making a deck now.
I guess we're making a deck. Well, that was how Sawyer's Path started too. Was like, oh, I'm gonna do the Queen. I did a Two of Cups tattoo, and then I was like, oh, that was fun. I wonder how the Queen of Swords would look in my tattooy cartoony style that I was doing a lot back in that day. And then I drew that Queen of Swords, and I was like, oh, I wonder what the Queen of Wands would do look like. And that was when I was like first starting to really deep dive and learn in tarot. And then I did all four queens, and I was like, did I just start drawing a deck? Crap.
Like, what just happened? It's
It just
almost
happened.
like you're just following the breadcrumbs
I do,
down
yeah.
like a creative path.
It's why it's really hard for me when people are like, "Oh, explain me your process." I'm like, "I would love to. I have no idea." Like, I need you to understand that we're probably going to circle back to a point, but like my brain doesn't think linear. Nothing is
Yeah, you're
linear.
like, I would really love if someone would explain it to me first.
Please, please help. Please help.
No, but it's great. It's I don't know, it's fun to watch. It's fun to be a part of because there's just such like a flow to that. You know what I mean? Like to see
Absolutely. And it
to
makes
see
sense in
your
my
deck.
brain for it to kind of like all circle back to, tarot, because so the reason I was like, oh, I want to do a tarot, like, because I had done a couple um panels that were, creative. And they look like, the Lenormand. Like, so because I had already drawn all 36 of my Lenormand cards, my deck, I had already drawn those all in a very simplified charm fashion. And because of that, I was like, oh, these are perfectly drawn already to become a felt panel. And so then I did a couple of the Lenormand images. I did like the stork, um, I did the fish and the ship, and I did all those in the same style. And then I was just like, I don't want to stop doing them, but I don't feel like doing a whole Lenormand. I want a bigger project. So I was like, well, I'll do the four aces. So even if that, I'll start, and I just did the aces, and I was like, but I'm having so much fun creating this. Like, just I had so much fun just making the panels that I didn't want to stop. So for me, it gave me an excuse to continue doing this process that was becoming very meditative. And as you know, last year was a very stressful year. So it helped me to kind of tune out all the chaos that was going on in my world, by just diving into the creation process of these panels. And since I like to share everything out in the world, people start to get excited and, oh, are you going to do a whole deck? I'm like, I don't know. And I could probably go on Facebook and tell you that I responded to my friend Jennifer on there being like, I can't make any promises. And then like 3 months later, I was like, so I'm almost done.
So the Lenormand ones that you made, were they the same like size as the panels for felt tarot?
No, they're bigger. They're because I was like at that time I was like, oh, I have a 12-inch surface on the Cricut. So they're bigger in the sense like I could do anything 12 like 11 inches wide by like 24 or however long, long because the Cricut machine like you can only go this way but however big. So the ship is actually like 16 inches or 17 inches long by like 11 inches, so they're big. I wouldn't be able to scan them
Is
without
that
having.
hanging in your house, the ship?
Yes, it's hanging. It's in my tattoo room, and
Okay.
then it's
Yep.
the
Got it.
stork is by the front door.
Right. See, I've like seen them, but I didn't realize that I was missing that piece that they were Lenormand. And
Yeah,
sometimes it takes me a while to catch
it does.
up.
Yeah, the fish were hanging over my tattoo station for the longest time. Like now they're just over that window since I moved everything around.
That's cool. So now because this kind of just led into when you're talking about like the size of the cricket, like
Hmm.
the actual process of making these
Hmm.
began with digital hand drawing, correct?
The original drawings were done on my iPad. So I basically drew this deck twice. Like I did it twice. I did it in felt and then I did it digitally. So like this is how I had to set it up in order to um so I have like the color background and then I have like the lines. Let me get in here. So these are the adjustments because I had to do some adjustments on them. Um, so like
There we go. Look at that. Wow.
so there's the line work
Okay.
and then I had to go in and each color is its own layer
Wow.
because in order to export those, I had to be able to, like you can see.
So it's almost like the digital version that you first drew was like the prototype to then create
Hmm.
felt.
Yeah.
And the line work is what then you would print with the Cricut to make the vinyl outline for the felt.
Yes. So this is actually a little sneak peek on what I'm sharing with my Patreon members. So this month I did our coloring page I did after the scorpion. I don't know if you
Oh
saw
my
that
God,
one.
it's so freaking cool. I
So of
love
course I'm like, oh, I'm gonna do for them. I'm gonna do a create and share. And so I've been like trying to document the things and people who are on that illumination tier get access to it. But yeah, this is vinyl.
that.
So
Okay.
this is the cut vinyl. This is the weeded vinyl. The sticker, it's still on there because if not, I wouldn't be able to control it. And then what we do is this is what all the colors look like. So I will hand cut all of these and place them as a puzzle.
And how are you getting like the pieces to that size? So you're printing them out from,
So when you import the colors, so I have to export each. So the lines are all a file, and then the colors are all a file. So here's just a quick one. Like there's the line work. So I import that into the Cricut program, and then I import each color as its own layer. And then I have to go in and I have to like separate them and do, but they're all the correct size when I do it that way. And then I have the Cricut draw the outline of the colors. So that's how I get there.
wow, that's amazing.
And
And
then I'm
then,
also, when I'm putting them on, I'm working in the reverse because when you flip it, that's when you see, so it's like an old animation cell. Or if you've ever watched somebody hand paint a window, you have to put the line work down first, and then you put the colors that are in the foreground down.
oh yes, and then you do the
And then
background.
you have to layer it. So
God,
like on these cards or on these panels, here we go. let me see. This one's a good example. So on the high priestess, anything that was like the gray here had to go
Hmm.
down before the white.
Yeah. Hmm.
And you can kind of see like there's like a shadow of it. Same with the black here had to go down before the dark gray. And then, each one of these were individually cut. But anytime that there's shadowing, like this stuff in the clouds has to go down before the other color. The white had to go down before the gray.
Yep.
On Barney, all the highlights had to go down before. So it was like you work backwards. Same
And
on this
how do you
one.
keep track of that?
Because I created it in here, I can literally go in and be like, okay, I have the lines and I'm working on, like I will literally just
Yep. Like take it away and
take it
then,
away and be like, okay, I'm working on whichever color. Like, so
yep.
then I'll be like, that way my brain can map it. So, like,
Yep.
if I say I'm color mapping, this is what I'm doing. So then I'll be like, okay, I'm only working on the yellow. But then
Hmm.
if I'm doing layering, so like if we're into the shadowing of Barney, I'd be like, okay, so those are the areas that I'm working on.
Okay.
And then I would go in and I could get rid of that.
Yep. Wow.
I don't think, like I brush off the process because it becomes so second nature to me. But when people see things, I don't think they realize how much artists put into work sometimes.
Well, that's exactly why I wanted to do this because
Yeah.
it is so intensive and like it is wild how second nature it is to you. Like I just know that from being your friend where I'm like, wait, what did you do? And you're like, oh, I just did this, this, and this. I'm like, you don't understand how just I just did this, this, and this is like it's crazy.
This reminds me of the last time you were over and we were making those boxes. And I was like, yeah, and then you just do this. And you're like, hold up.
Like, you've just slowed
I
it down for me. And
know my mom gets mad sometimes too, because she's crafted with me and she's like, you're going too fast.
I need to understand it. What are we doing? Why are we doing?
Right,
How did you do that? Show me again.
right.
Um, Now, when you do the Cricut with the vinyl, that first step,
Hmm.
the way that it prints out is like a black sheet that's just
Hmm.
like cookie cutter kind of puzzle pieces, and then you're picking them out, right?
Yeah, you pick them out with a weeding tool.
That sounds like so much fun to me.
Oh, you would love it. I'm like, I'll just sit there and I'm like,
Yeah.
it's so much fun. There are people hate the weeding process of things. I'm like, I love it. Like, I'll just sit there and just, oh, I'm done. Wah, like,
Oh, so it's so satisfying.
yeah, it's so satisfying.
So on average, like how long would you say one card would take from like we're so let's say let's give an overview of the process. So you're digitally drawing the card and
Hmm.
then you're coloring it, color mapping it, completing the card digitally, then exporting that to the Cricut, doing the vinyl, weeding that out, printing the colors for the felt, cutting them, and then layering them all together and creating the panel.
Yeah.
Did I miss
So
anything? Is that
no, I'm looking at so in Procreate, it gives you the statistics of how long you've worked on an open project.
wow? That's
So
helpful.
there's 1451 strokes. So that's how many lines I've drawn. It says track time, and I don't know if this is accurate because it feels like a lot for me. Is 7 hours and 47 minutes. So let me just open a different one and see if that's accurate. Let's see what so the magician was 4 hours and 20 minutes. So each digital rendition before I even do the stuff that's in the Cricut takes me anywhere, I will say, from a simple card to like 3 hours to apparently Barney took me 7 hours. And then to import it into the Cricut, I have to break apart every single color into each individual layers. The other day I was doing it for the Scorpio thing, and that took me like 4 hours. And then the all the other stuff. So I roughly estimate maybe 10 to 15 hours per panel. I'm probably undershooting.
I feel like you probably are.
Yeah.
Like it
But
seems
I tend to work fast. So I'm
you're
like, oh, if
fast.
that seems like that can't be, yeah, but
Yeah, you're like it's not quite human, your speed of being able to create and work. Um, but like I feel like 20 hours is probably
I feel like that's like on the high side, but like I could be wrong, because I'm also doing other things. It's not like I'm working all the way through. Like I remember the first time that I made a set of tarot tiles. I take breaks, I do things. So I was like, well, if I'm going to charge for this, I need to know how long a set takes me to make. And so I sat there and I charted my time. And this was before we had the laser. This was when I was hand burning the backs of them. And they took me 9 hours per set.
wow.
And I was just like, okay, because like when you're taking breaks and you're doing things, you don't feel like it takes a long time.
Yeah.
But then when you go back and you're like, oh, well, I guess it does take that time.
Yeah. And can you bust out some tiles?
So here's my felt tarot tiles. They are the digital versions.
And that was because so here's where I think this is
This
another good conversation to have. So there are
is
two,
this is where I glitched.
yeah, there are two versions of the felt tarot. There are the actual digital drawings that we just looked at in Procreate, and then there are the scans of the felt panels.
Mhm.
And so for the tiles, the felt panels would not translate to that size, right?
No, they would be way too like because you're
Fuzzy.
talking, they would be so fuzzy. And so I needed to be able to like this to get this small would just be like it's already fuzzy, but I feel like the brightness of the tiles look better because then I was able to do the tiny ones too. And I just feel like the brightness of it was just better with the
Do you have the tiny ones? Oh, let me see. Oh my God, so cute. Oh,
and of course the backs are the same as the card
oh my
backs.
God, I need the tiny ones someday. Those are so adorable. Wow.
Yeah, I love the tiny ones. They live in my the bubble bag.
The bubble bag.
The bubble bag.
It's the freaking coolest.
It really is. So yeah, so like I there was a moment where I was just like, I don't know, I was having trouble like with the color bleeds and I was having trouble with all that stuff. So I was like, there was a moment where I was just like, I'm gonna just do the cards then digital and I'm not even gonna do the felt. And that so of course I made like a small DIY at home prototype, which I remember showing you, and you looked at me and you go, these are cool and all, but what's the point? And I was like, what do you mean? You're like, then what's the point in doing all the felt ones? Like why even do any of this? And I was just like, oh, she's right. And
Okay,
then
good. Because like sometimes I hear these things repeated back to me and I'm like, you are
but
like
then
that
I was like,
sounds like something I would say and like, oh my God, what's it like to be friends with me?
but I need people in my life that speak bluntly, and you've always done that, and I've always been very appreciative of it. Because like, so this was my at-home prototype that I was making to be able to use like a workable deck to see if it would work. And I remember you flipping through this and then flipping through the digital one and being like, these just have more feeling to them.
Yeah,
They
like
like,
there's a texture. Like you can
yeah,
actually in the cards, like
yeah.
you can they look you want to do this with them, even though it's, just regular card stock. It feels like it looks like you would be able to feel like the fuzz.
hmm But it
So
also the layering, like I was like afraid that I don't know what I was afraid because I feel like I have a pretty good printer as well. And so these are really good. And then when I got these, I was like, oh my God, they got the depth so much better than even what my printer could do,
yeah.
and I was just like, oh, okay, this is why I did it. And then to hear people say, like, it feels more human. And especially right now where everything is like, is it AI or is it not? Like, this is me. Like every flaw, the edging, the cards, like even if the card has a ripple here, it's because the panels are not all exact. Like the human element is so on display, but if I just did the digital version, it's just like, okay, just another bright, colorful deck.
Yeah, it's like too clean almost or
Hmm.
something. Yeah, and the AI thing is so maddening, and um, it's only going to get more problematic. And
Yeah.
it's just like so refreshing to know, like you're so transparent in sharing your creative process, which as a, consumer,
It's
I'm
important.
so appreciative of because quite honestly, if creators aren't doing that, I'm I'm suspect. I'm like, oh,
Oh,
well,
same. And I'm honestly getting a little bit suspect on some of the big printing houses because they're putting out decks, and I'm like, is this made by a real person? Is this
no.
going to be, and they're not telling you if it's AI. And I mean, I recently got a deck which I really like, but it's AI.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, oh,
Yeah, like at least be transparent about it
yeah,
so that I can make an informed decision about whether or
right.
not that's something that I want to
Put in
use.
my practice. Yeah, totally.
Now, let's talk about the borders because
Mhm.
they were an issue
They
keeping
were,
them in felt. And explain that because this is something that this is one of those like back of the house insights that somebody who picks up a tarot deck is never thinking about.
so I was having issues because this is where I had all the forethought to make this big enough to scan, but I did not be like, oh, hey, Jamie, maybe you should, instead of cutting this gray border this size, maybe you should cut it this size.
Mhm.
Like maybe you should make it 2 inches instead of, a quarter or almost a half inch. Maybe you should do that and scan it and then cut it later and put it in the thing. But I had
Mhm.
already done so many. So then I was running into the fact that like my original scans, they had the, I'll show you one of them because I had done a black border around that. Um, but my original scans, I couldn't get the color. So my original scans, you can see like that's the only color.
Mhm.
And then the black. And then I was like, oh, so I had to go in digitally and delete all of the color borders and make them uniform because I couldn't get them. They look different. They look so much different card to card. And then the black, like there would be these lines. And I knew working with the printers that they would be like, hey, it's not full bleed. You're going to have to go in and do all this
And
because,
so part of the
mhm,
issue, so when you explained it to me, it took me a while to like wrap my brain around what you were talking about because sometimes,
mhm,
you're speaking Spanish to me basically.
mhm.
But it's like it's a color theory thing, right? To
Yeah.
where it's the way that it made sense to me was to think about when you get a can of paint and you
Mhm,
put it in, you actually put it on your wall and how
mhm.
it can look completely different based on the lighting.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Well,
And
so like
so,
the card back, I had the forethought. So the card back is actually the perfect size because I put the bleed in.
okay.
So the card back, like you can see how much they cut off.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
You see what I mean? Like if you
Yes.
like it cut this whole section off.
So part of it was the bleed, but then wasn't also part of it what I'm talking about with this like
Yes,
color
the
theory
color.
where the gray on the Queen of Swords would look different than the gray on the Two of Swords.
Yes, there was definitely I noticed it more in the wands
Agreed. Oh, the wands, really?
because of the gold of the this yellow
Uh-huh.
would really pop it out in certain cards, but then in other cards it looked different. It wasn't the same, and I couldn't match it. Like I was having a hard time
Yep,
matching it.
I can even kind of see it when you just
Yeah,
like some are reading more orange and some are reading more yellow.
yeah. And
Even
so
though they're
then,
the same color, they visually look different. So if you were to have kept the borders like felt, it would have looked like there was like a printing error.
yeah, and then I wasn't about to deal with all of that because
With
that
all the
was going to
people being like,
be
why is my one card look different than you?
right. I mean, it already, it's, I wish that I was able to make these bigger, like bump them up bigger and to take up like less of the border. But there's also a thing when you're talking with the printing houses where they're like, hey, you're entering the unsafe zone,
Yeah,
and if we cut that out and it's wrong, your
it's not
eye
our
is
fault.
going to notice, so then when you're ordering 1,000 decks and you've spent over $10,000, you're going, oh, great. Now they're not
Yeah,
great,
yeah.
so
And they don't care because you like signed off on it.
right, because you're literally like, there's a box that, hey, by approving this, I'm letting you know. That's why those my Redux decks that I got, the samples where I was like, didn't even notice that there was 2 page of wands in it.
Yes,
I just have 20 decks that have 2 page of wands, and I was like, crap.
I know, but it's better than 1,000.
It's better than 1,000, exactly. And this is why we prototype. This is why we spend, the amount for the prototyping. But yeah, so that was it. Like, but again, this is the human element that, isn't that is me. Here's my imperfectly perfect deck.
And so, like, the compromise then was to make the borders digital, like a
Yes.
digital color,
Yeah, I did a
that
digital color fill.
so that they would be uniform and you could control the bleed.
Yes. That was exactly so what I had to do. Here's how much bleed goes on. But then if I take it away, you can see, and I was trying to line them all up, but how there's imperfections around each one, and some of them I was like, oh, I have to add more bleed here, or I had to erase, or, so there was just that. And so I had to do that with each card. I had to go in and get rid of all the backgrounds and add the background color. Wrong thing.
Yeah, you only had to do that 78 times.
Only 78 times. So, and then I had to pull it into my other program because, this is never easy, which is fine. I mean, it takes up a lot of my time. Um, and so then I had to pull it into here and you set it into the template, which is here. So here's that template. And so as it is, I already have it out of the safe zone. See that blue?
Wow, you
That's the
did?
safe zone. Yeah. And so in order to do that, it was like they were like, okay, we can do that because that's the guide. And so I was trying to get it as small as I could, but I was like, no, I'm not gonna sign off on 1,000 decks that are like that. So yeah, so then I also had to like tweak the image and pull it here and here and just to kind of get them somewhat uniform because you're talking about an organic piece of fabric that we're trying to get into a very linear
Mhm.
um,
Template.
template.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
So when you went to print, was that something you did have to sign off on, that it was a slightly outside of that line or no?
yeah. I mean, you sign off on it because they realize like, okay, it's just the white that's out of it.
Yeah.
And so they even worked with me a little bit. I was like, hey, this is what I want, so actually it's like this is the printed version. So I can show you like this is my prototype, the first deck. And so you can see that there's the ones that people got from the Kickstarter are just slightly bumped up.
Oh, okay. So the one on the left
This
is the
one is
prototype that you got from the printer, like
the
round one.
originals. Yes, round one. I think you have one of these too. Yeah.
And then, oh, interesting. I'm gonna have to compare my two
Yeah,
decks.
it's very, very, very slight in some cards, and in other cards it's pretty noticeable. But I was like, I just want the white to be, I want this part on the inside to try and be the same on every card. And so he helped me with that. But okay, because the one that I did the color edges on was one of the newer ones. And
I
that's
love
this
those
one.
edges,
I do too.
by the
I,
way.
I,
They
I
look
just
so good.
hadn't, it was like, oh, but I've been bonding with this deck, so it just shuffles different. I don't know.
Yeah, no, they're different.
Yeah.
They're both your babies. You love them.
Yeah, so this one just gets to live in the Moonlit Fae bag that Jenna made
Yeah,
for the
which is
Kickstarter.
amazing. These bags too are just
Yeah, Well,
And
these were limited for the Kickstarter.
yes, these were Kickstarter exclusives, and they all have the different linings on the inside.
Yeah,
Like here's that.
she made mine out of my Redux fabric.
Yeah, and mine is like astrology stars.
Yeah.
Explain your process with the guidebook.
Um, so whenever I've done a deck, what I do is I also create a file in GoodNotes so that I can import the the image that I'm finishing and then do some notes with it. It's the only way I'm able to write a guidebook because if not, if I was like I'm still trying to be like, oh, I'm gonna write this guidebook for this oracle that I did, and I'm not, I
So it's like
will eventually.
guidebook. Does the guidebook have to be part of the working creative process for
I
you?
think yeah,
Like
I
it's
do.
not going to happen if you do the deck and then would sit down to write the guidebook after.
It's just not.
Yeah.
Like that's the Sawyer's Path took so long because I didn't want to write a book with it. And then I finally was like, "Hey mom, will you write the guidebook?" And so she finally also sat and did it at the same time. I'm trying to find the thing, but
Just
so I
so
would
sweet, by the way.
oh yeah. It's nice because for me I'm like, "Oh well, in my head she's going to live forever, but she's not." And then so afterwards I have all um these words of her from that snippet in time, to like look back on. So like I would import the picture
Mhm.
and then I would just write a few things on it. And then I would take that and then I would bring it into my actual Pages app where everything else was uniformed on how I was going to do it. Like you can see clearly I didn't do the Nine of Pentacles. Like when I worked in the batches, and then at some point, I guess what I did was I started working only in the Pages app, but like this was like
The beginning.
the beginning of it. But it also helped me to map out. Like I did that with Pocket of Peers. I did that when I was, that was just kind of my process of doing all that.
And so in the guidebook, you have like up at the top, so you have the name and the picture of the card, and then up at the top is what? Just kind of like your little quotes about the card or um
Yeah,
brief synopsis. What would you call that like the blurb right under the title?
I call it a blurb. I I try and give people credit that they've at least read a tarot book on, at least like the Rider-Waite-Smith system or something before they've picked up one of mine, which is why I was just kind of like some decks just won't come with a guidebook because I'm like my clone deck does not come with a guidebook because there's already thousands written about it. But for this, I was like, okay, these are actual like journal notes. Like this is an actual journal excerpt from something I wrote about the Fool. But like, so this is kind of like my keywords of like when I see the Fool, I think they're nowhere and then they're now here. I think what awaits me when I step out into the world. Like they're kind of like a little, it's not a poem, but just a blurb on like the synopsis of the Fool.
Like
And
a
then the drawing,
musing, almost
a
like a
music, yeah, a
Mhm.
pondering, if you will. And then the drawing notes, I just kind of, some of them have actual drawing notes and some end up becoming a little bit more of like my brain dumping. And
Mhm.
then I have like further foolish thoughts. And that's where the journal excerpt with these came in because I was just kind of like, I'm not trying to explain to you what these cards mean, but this is kind of what they mean to me. Take what
But
you want and leave the rest.
honestly, this is like what I want. I want to hear the creator's process and thoughts.
Hmm.
Like, I don't want just regurgitated meanings. Like, I want your personal experience with
Right.
the card and the creation of this particular deck.
Right. And I did that, like, that's kind of been my approach to all the guidebooks because I'm going, okay, well, it's a different energy of what I'm creating in this. Well, here's my drawing notes, and this is kind of like what I think about with the high priestess. I close my eyes, I think about the pomegranate seeds, like stuff like that. Like when I want to journal with the card, I do actually do it well, but I don't always do it. And that's creating this deck forced me to do that.
So, if you had to describe the personality of this deck now that you have put it forth into the world
Mhm.
and it is its own thing and you read with it on a regular basis? Um, like, how would you describe it to people?
It's very playful and fun because of what it is. And then it's also not, it reminds you to not take life so seriously. I did make this, which is, I was literally, that's why I was drawing them as I was making the cards. I was writing down. So these are basically, I have a whole handwritten guidebook of
So
this
as
deck.
you would make the card, you would
I would write it down and journal it. And then I would take
did
that
you
and I
just
would put
did you print those cards out and then like cut them and paste them in there or what? What's going on
it.
you do
So I printed them all to where I could fold it. So these are all printed on the page
on
because
the
this is
page?
my,
Yeah,
yeah,
of
and I
course
had
it
fabric
is. See,
made.
this is what I'm talking about. And I would print it out on a piece of paper, cut it, and paste it in there.
Well, I used to do that, but then what happened was the first time I printed it out, it was wrong. So I had to learn about offset, like, okay, so this signature, like each section has so many pages. So the Fool has this printed on one side, and then the other side of that same page, I had to put in opposite to print the world.
Oh my-
So I had to do it upside, like I had to put them in, print the faces, and then turn it over, and then print it. It took a few times, but like so
I was gonna
adjust.
say, I was just gonna ask you that. I was just gonna ask you if you nailed it on the first time or if you had to like,
No, 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 no. I'm extra in case you haven't noticed. Like
yeah, I love it.
yeah, and so these are printed on the Cricut, and this is vinyl on here. So this is the I made this in the beginning of starting, and this will tell you exactly which order I created the cards.
Wow.
Look at how big it is.
Oh my gosh.
And it's a velvety, and this is like I was using regular fabric, which didn't work quite as nicely. It still works, but it didn't work quite as nicely as the
Felt.
felt. Manifest that shit.
I
Start where
love
you
it.
are. It's my favorite quote as a reminder. So this was fabric, tarot. For actual print to press, I need to find a way to photograph the cards. So this like these are my thought processes, right? So start where I am. I want to create a new deck. Oh my God, right? Question mark. But what will the cards look like? The muses know. Trust the process in regards to this project. You don't need to know what the 10th step looks like when you're focused on today's path.
I love that.
I knew I wanted to do the majors in purple because these are the colors I use for my own personal journaling.
Yes.
So purple majors, wands orange or peach, cups teal, blue water, swords gray clouds, pentacles green earth. I want color and symbolism to play a big part in this deck.
So that was something like from the jump, you knew was going to set this apart from some of the other decks that you
Yeah. Like the color blocking was like super important. Like materials needed, felt all the colors, block vinyl, embroidery thread, fringe. Da-da-da. Print logistics, I want the finished panels to be like the size of riches. However, I will scan them so they should be smaller. Question. So then card sizes, this was like my actual mapping out. This is the flat vinyl. This was like part of the edging that I did on this is also junk journaling. This is when it gets messy and fun. So the borders, I got the felt from Over the River felt. Pentacles was the Magic Forest. Card borders was this Angel Wings. The cups was their Capri color. Swords was Millennium Silver. Wands was gold, and majors was mulberry.
did you
And
do
so
this before you created them, or is this like as you were?
this is as I was going.
Okay.
So the main card, so I started with, I thought I was just going to use only these colors in all the pentacles. And then when I realized that I wanted to have more options, um, and then when I realized that, I was like, oh no, because I was just going to do like, oh, this is going to be wands, this is going to be pentacles, this is cups and swords. And then I was like, no, they're all going to have their own colors, right? So these are all the colors that are used in the Ace of Pentacles. This is what I use. These are all the colors used in the wand, cups. So I did the ace, the wands, the cups, and swords. Like that was the order.
And
in
then
July.
that color palette is carried throughout the whole suit.
Yes. And so then I did the death was the first of the majors. And but it was, but it wasn't. Like so the I realized like this is the same throughout all the pentacles. And the pentacles, like the colors themselves are all very similar because I was using the same one. So I would use like, in the cups, I would use these same blues for waters and sometimes with aquas. Like I would use similar palettes, but me, I like to have all the options. So I started like, whereas the moon, this is the only colors other than the border color and the angel wings. Like these are the same on every card. These are the same, like this is the same on every card. But then these are all like the suits. So then the moon, Knight of Swords. So then that I was like, okay, okay, see what we're going. And so yeah, this is the order that I did them. So if you ever wanted to know the order of what I did,
I mean, I do love things like that. As
I
you know,
know.
I've texted you and been like,
Mm.
what's the order? Like with
Yeah,
my
with your book, yeah.
casting book
Hmm.
problems.
I know. I'll help you, I promise. So this was I started July, I dated this one July 28th. We found out August 29th that Barney had lymphoma. And so I did his like this, I had done these many before I had, you know, gotten to his. And so these are all the colors that were in his. And my hopes of doing it like this was like I wanted to be able to create the panels for people, but then I've since decided I don't really feel like doing that. But it was so I could like um go back and get the right colors.
I mean, it's just so cool. It's just like such a really fun, like I'm so glad you're showing this
Yeah,
because
I don't know why I forgot about it until just before.
it's a very neat like insight into it's almost like a scrapbook, like a journal or like a yearbook
Hmm.
of the deck,
Yeah,
color yearbook.
color yearbook. Yep, absolutely. So justice. And then I was like, okay, using the papers that I had because I made this journal. I didn't know what I was going to use for the journal, and then it chose, to do that.
Yeah, see, this is like another problem that I have with my journals that you've made me that I'm like, they're too pretty to
I'll
use.
just make more. Start using one.
I knew you would say that. You're always like, it's just paper, just use it.
Just paper. Just use it. The world gets put on an envelope, and then these are ones that I was like, oh, I have some left over. I'm just gonna stuff them in here. The home stretch. You're almost done. This deck has had me going through paces. It wants to be felt. I don't
Oh,
even. I rarely go back and look at things that I do. Like I know that sounds really silly, but like,
no, it doesn't because it's like part of your process. And once you've processed
hmm,
it, then you're moving forward into something else.
yeah, right. I'm done with that. Like,
Yeah.
and just like that, another tarot project has come to an end. First panel completed July 24th, 2024. The final one completed February 21st, 2025. 7 months now for the Kickstarter to be a giant success.
7 months.
7 months,
Wow.
and I still have. Oh, this is a vinyl. Some black
Snail.
vinyl that can get
Crystal
ironed on.
snail.
Crystal snail, yeah,
Just a little crystal snail mascot.
this little crystal snail. I think are these? Yeah. So I had like, oh, I'm gonna print these, and I realized I printed it on the wrong thing, so they're stickers.
That's great. That's a happy surprise. That's a bomb
Yeah.
box accident right
I
there.
was like, oh, look at
Like,
this happy little accident. Yeah.
yeah, it's just making some happy birds.
Yeah, just making some happy stickers of cards. But yeah, so this chunky thing is, when people are like, oh, what about the guidebook? I'm like, I wish I could tell you I spent a lot of time on it, but I didn't because I was doing all of this simultaneously.
Just like woven throughout.
Yeah, it's all of it. And I wish that I could tell you I'm one of those people that like has deep thoughts about every like I love to have tarot conversations, as you know, and I will have like huge deep thoughts about it. But like when put on the spot, I'm like, I don't know. Like I was just making it. And I remember one of the times that I had first met Benabel when we were at I want to say it was Omega, And I was telling her about Sawyer's Path and how quick that one took me to create. And she goes, well, it's because you were just channeling it. And
Yeah.
I never really thought about it, but I do. I channel most of my projects because if I don't, then it just feels really forced.
I was going to say that it's like you're not using the thinking linear part of your brain to create. Like there's part of your brain that wants to that loves to sit down and have in-depth conversations
Hmm.
about tarot and what the cards mean. And we can text about that all day long. But when
Yeah.
you're creating, you're not coming from that space. You're coming
Mm-mm.
from somewhere else. So it's like that's where the I don't know, it just it's flowing through you.
Right. And like I told you, I know that there's an Oracle deck I'm working on, but it hasn't shown itself to me yet.
Yeah. Well, I'm excited for that.
Me
And
too.
what's the deal with the snakes and stuff here?
So the snakes is I was born in the year of the snake. I started this in the year of the snake. Like it's this is the year of the snake. Um, Snakes are very transformative. Like for me, it's shedding my skin. It was like I was creating this during a time when we were losing our quote unquote child. We almost lost our house. It was like there was a lot going on, and
Power.
snakes to me is reclaiming the power. And there was a art scar that I had for years because of an art teacher, I want to say in ninth grade or no, maybe senior year. I don't remember. Um, I think it was senior year. I was drawing a self-portrait and it had my head kind of split open and I had snakes coming out of it. And she said to me, and I know she didn't mean to like dump this on me and change the course of like certain things, but she said, in art, snakes can be a phallic symbol. And I was like, I didn't really know what that meant. And then when I realized what that meant, I was like, I changed it. I changed the whole drawing. I put weird flowers coming out of the head instead because I didn't want people to think as a 17-year-old that I had like, dicks on the brain. Because I mean, I might have, but I didn't want that in my art. And I never drew snakes after that.
Oh my God, what a fucked up thing for her to
It,
have
but
said.
like I said, I don't think she meant it. I was just like, oh, okay, but I owned it and I owned it for years until I started to really study tarot and oracle and nature. And I mean, as a child, I loved snakes. We would go to my grandfather's farm and I would catch the milk snakes. I'm still not afraid of them. I remember my mom had a boyfriend that we lived at his house when I was younger. His cousin lived there for a while. She had a 15-foot long Burmese python, which I loved. And this thing, his name was Zach, and he was huge. And I was like tiny. So snakes have always been in my world. And of course, Chinese astrology. I was born in the year of the fire snake. So I was like, I want to reclaim this. So this has been part of my reclamation of snake energy and understanding that when they outgrow their skin, like when they shed, it's because they've grown
Yeah.
or they grow and they shed their skin to remove parasites too.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, like snakes. I mean, I think I've shown you this. This was my pole pen paint journal. And so for this year, this was part of that,
Yes. I love that.
and what's written on all of this is like what I want to shed this year,
Wow, I love it so much.
So that's what the snakes is. It's like, for me, it's like a power symbol for this year. I'm in my Chinese zodiac return because of a snake, even though it wasn't the year of the metal snake, but
Well, I also think that it makes so much sense for you, this symbolism, because when I think of snakes, I automatically think of transformation and that shedding of the
hmm
skin. When I think of transformation in tarot, I think of the death card. And the death
hmm
card is Scorpio, and that's your ascendant. So it does feel
hmm
very much like this alignment with who you are and how you see the world and really coming home to that part of yourself.
right. Well, and I've fractured myself for so long into the Jamie that tattoos and the Jamie that does weird tarot shit and the Jamie that does this. And it's finally to the point where I'm outgrowing all of those labels I've put on myself.
Hmm.
And I am like, you know what? This is who I am, and if you like it, cool, you can be part of my world. If you don't like it, cool, you don't need to be part of my world. And I'm finally like embracing, like I'm trying to not define myself by who I am not anymore.
Yeah,
You
it's
know,
like you're just Jamie. You're not the
I'm
Jamie
just,
that does this or
yeah,
that does that.
Exactly. Like when people get really excited about, the fact that I tattoo, I'm just kind of like push myself off that pedestal. I'm like, I'm semi-retired. I'm not taking new clients, and it's the least interesting thing about me. Like I love the connections and the people like that I've met through the years from tattooing. Some of them have become obviously my most favorite people and best friends and stuff. But it doesn't mean it has to be my future legacy either. So that's kind of been something that I've been struggling with and not even struggling, just coming to
Work.
terms, working through. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's like universal for people, right? Because we
Yeah.
have these identities that
Right.
then, like, how do we let them define us? And you see this very often with people when they retire and this like loss of purpose because their job became such a part of their identity that
Right.
without
Who am
it,
I without this? Who am
yeah,
I if I'm no longer Jamie that tattoos? Well, you know what? You can come over and we'll just craft together and have fun.
yeah,
You know,
exactly. Like
like that's
you
we don't
haven't
have,
changed
I
because you
haven't
stopped
changed. Yeah.
doing this one thing. Well,
But,
that
mm,
was so insightful. This is, to be honest with you, exactly what I was hoping for in
yay.
doing this video was just this like level of insight into the process around this deck because quite honestly, like it's mind blowing to me to like what you can do and what you do with your
Mhm.
creations out in the world. And I think that it's very easy to like overlook that when you just get a deck of cards in your hand.
Yeah.
Like there's obviously tarot is so powerful and magical
Mhm.
and we love it, but there's this whole other side to it that of like what the process of creating it looks like to get it into like our hands.
Right.
And I didn't want this deck to be like underrated because it's
Right.
so it deserves like this amount of like a deep dive into this process. And I'm very grateful to have been able to watch it over like those 7 months. So thank you for that. I love being
Oh,
in the
I'm so
circle.
glad.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't take it lightly. I don't take other people's creations lightly either. When I think of some of the decks that I'm most drawn to, I'm like, wow, like the effort and the time that they've put into this. Like I love collecting decks even if I don't use them because I'm like, this is 78 works of art by this person.
Yeah, it's like
It's
a
my
whole
way of
gallery.
supporting them. Exactly.
Yep.
And it's just like I know that there's different school of collectors out there, but it's like I just want people to always remember there's a human being behind the art.
Hopefully.
Hopefully, yes. And if there is, like, it's probably also why, I mean, you know me, I don't read reviews
Yeah.
and I really don't always watch reviews of my decks because they're not for me. They're for other people.
Yes.
I don't need you to tell me. That would be like people just shit talking your child in front of you and you having to take it. And so
Yeah.
I'm not going to. And it's like I won't have reviews on my website. I hate that Etsy makes me do it. It's like, it's like it takes nothing to just leave a 5-star review. Like that's like if you bought it and you don't love it, let me know so I can refund it and exchange it. Or, like that's the way I look at it. But like when it comes to I've put so much time and effort, and this deck got me through some of the hardest times of my life. I don't need somebody to lessen that for me.
Yeah.
But I love when people share it and pair it with other decks and tell me how much they love it. Like, I know that you love it if you're using it and you're sharing it and we're still able to sell it. That to me is like the word of mouth is how I've always done business. You know that, like
Yep.
tattooing and everything. So that transfers over into the tarot world for me as well. It's like if I love it, like you and I will be like, oh, I just bought this deck. And I'm like, oh my God, where is that one? Like that to
Yeah.
me is better than a review.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, I think that it's such it's something that being friends with you and seeing things from that creator's perspective has really brought home for me is that like as tarot readers, we are also patrons of the arts, right?
Hmm.
That like by buying the deck and then hopefully using it, like we are supporting you in the ability to keep creating these things. And it's just
Right.
like so important not to take that for granted. You
Hmm.
know, and and that's like in our face now with this whole AI thing. Like
Yeah.
it could be taken away, right? The more people are using and supporting AI instead of actual artists. Like it's just important, I think, to have
Well, and
value in
here's the
art.
thing that I also know from that standpoint is an artist is never going to stop creating.
Mm.
We might just stop sharing it publicly, and nobody wins if that happens, you know? So it's like I share because I'm proud of something that I created and I want you to be excited about it too, you know? And I know that that's also from like my own childhood of like, look what I can do, you know? But if we are undervalued because robots are doing it now, then it's like, okay, well, I'm still going to create. You can't
Yeah,
stop me from creating. You know what? It actually makes it easier because now I don't got to videotape it. Now I don't got to do anything. You know, I can just create. But I want to share. I mean, you know that you've been in my world for so long. I'm like, look what I made. Here,
yeah,
have
it's
20 of
fantastic.
them.
Well, you should be so proud of this and of all of your decks because they truly are incredible. And like the ability to have made so many is, you know, wildly impressive.
I'm very I'm happy that the muses choose me. You know, I definitely believe that I'm just that conduit, you know,
Listen,
and I get to make it. So that makes me happy.
it's the Venus Mars conjunction, baby, just churning away there.
It's like it's my time bending, as Kyla says. She's
Yeah,
like,
it's just a like a turbine, like a reactor, just getting making it happen.
next,
What's on in the next? So,
next.
our speaking of next, you
Mhm.
think an oracle is going to be the next project?
I really feel like, and I probably have you to thank for it. I really feel like there's an oracle coming. I mean, yes, I did my words or spells oracle, which I really love that rock one because I love adding the little points to it. But I've really been enjoying working with oracle decks in tandem with the tarot, as much as I love working with Lenormand with tarot. So I have my nature portal oracle, obviously, which it gives me that animal energy. But I really like the idea of things that are necessarily like situational, but I just don't know what it looks like yet. It's literally bubbling up, and I'm
Yeah, it's
like,
like out here.
yeah, it
The-
hasn't come into focus, and it maybe it's waiting for me to finish getting, you know, our sticker stuff up and running. Maybe it's getting me ready for the next thing by just putting everything to rest before I can do it. I don't know.
Well, yeah, and there's like a lot of other things that are
Hmm.
still like you guys are doing the sticker stuff, which is
Hmm.
super cool. And like this project, the Felt Tarot, is wrapped up, but now there's the Redux pre-order that you
Right.
still
So
have.
I'm like,
So
in two
there's
weeks, hopefully we'll be shipping, you know, it's like,
yeah, so once maybe
there's a
all of
lot.
that wraps up, it will
Yeah.
create the space for things to come in. Well, I'm looking forward to it. I'm here for
Same.
it.
Thank you.
And
Yeah,
thank
right
you
now
so
I've
much.
just been doing the tarot casting stickers have really helped me with that space as well. So I think it's going to be, you know, it's that. But yeah, I'm appreciative that I get to
I
do this.
am so appreciative of you for doing this video. Thank you for sharing all of this with us. And we will be back again for one of these because I have other ideas.
Yay!
And I will keep making you do if I can get away with it.
I'm so for it, and you know, maybe the next time it'll be a field trip, and you can just come and like we
Yes,
talked about.
I
Yeah,
definitely, yes, the next ones will be a field trip. So stay
yeah.
tuned for that. All right. Thank you so much, Jamie. And thank you
Thank
for
you.
watching. Please make sure to like and subscribe to both of our channels and get on Jamie's mailing list. Follow her on Instagram and keep up with the Sawyer's creation process.
Thank you. Thank
Bye,
you all.
everyone.
Bye.